So for my poetry, a lot of it is very personal. I write about my experiences as a fat queer woman, and I also write about grief. So the poems that I will be reading later talk about like coming to terms with my sexuality, kind of my journey into fat liberation, and yeah, so those experiences influence my writing a lot. So I am very much a non-structured person. I prefer like freestyle, like lyric writing, and so I just kind of go with the flow and write just whatever comes to my mind. I do write in form sometimes. I really like haikus and huzzles and sonnets, even though sonnets are kind of my weak point as a writer. So yeah, so I typically just write free verse, whatever comes to me. And I feel like that's kind of stuck as like my time as a writer is really focusing on free verse. So yeah. Like I said earlier, a lot of my themes in my writing are my personal experiences as a fat queer woman, and then struggling with grief, mental illness. Those really come through in my writing. So the one like little hiccup that I have as a writer is I really struggle with sonnets, and that's something I don't know if I've ever written like a perfect sonnet, but I've really tried to how do I put this? Try not to think about like my writing needing to be perfect. A lot of my writing is for me, and it's shared like with others in class, but it's not intended to be published. And I think that's really important, like when you're writing, that you can have writing to publish and read out loud. And you can also have writing for yourself, and that's still writing, and you're still a poet, even if you like never share your work. And it even took me a while to like be comfortable to share my work, especially with what I write about is very personal. It if you're not in an audience or like a space where you feel safe or comfortable, then it's really hard to share your work. So yeah. Especially when writing about personal experiences, I've also definitely gone to therapy when writing about these things, just so I can process what I'm writing, and those personal experiences, um, to then explore that in my poetry. I know this sounds like such like a cliche answer, but just write. Um, and I one thing that comes to mind whenever I think of like especially like younger poets, younger writers is I'd helped with a summer camp years ago when I was in high school, and I was helping third and fourth graders. And these two little girls were like, "Well, we don't like poetry because it rhymes." I'm like, "Well, you don't have to rhyme." And so seeing like their like eyes light up, like, "What? It doesn't have to rhyme?" And so yeah, it doesn't have to rhyme. Your writing is for you, and so just keep writing. Write a little bit every day, even though I know it's hard because I know I don't always write every day. And poems don't have to look a certain style. I have friends who do visual poetry, and um, it's very different than what you might see like in a book. But it's cool, and I love it. And so writing poetry can be your thing, and it doesn't have to look like what William Shakespeare writes or any other classical text. So it can just be your thing, and it can be however you want. So my first poem is called Unicorn, and this is a found poem. So a found poem is where you take words, phrases, sayings from other places, and you put them in a poem. This is Unicorn. My boyfriend and I are looking for a third. Yeah, I kissed a girl once too. I thought you were a lesbian, so are you down for a threesome? But have you ever been with a girl? Like, how do you really know? Are you sure about that? As long as you don't hit on me, lol. I have a husband, so it doesn't bother me. Am I your type, though? If I was gay, I'd totally get with you. Wait, but doesn't that technically make you pan? I just don't understand how you can like men. How many girls have you slept with? What about guys? I think you're just saying this for attention. I'm not biphobic, but so that's a poem about, like, things that have been said to me about biphobia. And this next one is called Cake. It is a sonnet, my non-perfect sonnet. And it is like the start of what I call like my fat poetry and that fat liberation journey. So this is Cake. You once told me a diet would make my problems go away. I sat in my room and stayed quiet. But there are a few things I need to say. You said that it would be good for me, and I cursed your name as I ate. A bowl of sadness meant to be, something that I did not hate. You counted and counted until I was gone. I crawled on the floor until my knees gave out. I believed you because I wanted to belong. Now I know, and now I will shout. You can try your best to tear me down and take what's a part of me while I eat my fucking cake. This last one is called Shauna, and this one was actually published in the, I think it's volume 18 or 19 of the Windward Review. And this is like one of the first poems that I had published in a literary journal. And it is about someone who is very special to me in my life from when I was a teenager. And this is me finding out my sexuality, coming to terms with it. So this is called Shauna. So when did you know? My voice shook like an earthquake in California, and tears ran a marathon down my face. 1,800 miles of static on the other end of the receiver, only to be cut short by a mother who doesn't care enough to try and understand. No one cares enough to try and understand. But her words bring me comfort, and living my life in the back of the closet isn't as lonely as you'd think, with her and girls and boys I've always known.